The tension was palpable before anyone even arrived. Social media feeds were exploding with rumors. Whispers of a brewing storm that threatened to tear one of Atlanta's most notorious reality TV families apart. You could feel it in the air, even before the cameras started rolling, the kind of energy that makes your stomach twist. The kind of drama that no one wants to witness, yet no one could look away from. And tonight, it wasn't just a rumor anymore. Rasheeda and Jasmine, two personalities who had clashed countless times on screen, were seconds away from what could only be described as an all-out showdown. Emotions ran high, tempers flared, and the family was left divided as friends and fans alike watched helplessly. Reports had been coming in all afternoon. Someone had leaked footage of a heated argument from a private dinner that never should have been recorded. And now, the internet was buzzing. "She disrespected me in front of my kids." One post screamed, while another read, "I can't believe Rasheeda would go that far." Every new comment added fuel to the fire, and tensions reached a fever pitch. Everyone knew it was only a matter of time before sparks flew in real life, and tonight, it looked like that moment had finally arrived. But just when it seemed like the situation might spiral completely out of control, two of Atlanta's most respected voices in the entertainment world stepped in, young Joc and Karlie read. Fans are shocked. Emotions ran high as they tried to mediate between the two feuding women, attempting to cool down tempers that were hotter than ever. The air was thick with accusations, with whispers of betrayal and old grudges resurfacing at lightning speed. The room was a pressure cooker, and every word spoken seemed to add more steam. As you watch, you'll see moments that are raw, unfiltered, and absolutely jaw-dropping, the kind of moments reality TV was made for. You're about to witness explosive confrontations, emotional breakdowns, and shocking revelations that no one saw coming. Will young Joc and Karlie Red be able to prevent this conflict from exploding entirely? Or will the long-standing feud between Rasheeda and Jasmine reach a breaking point that changes everything forever? Fans are on the edge of their seats, waiting to see who will stand their ground and who will finally break under the pressure. This is the drama you've been hearing about all weekend. It's about to get worse before it gets better. The tension in the room was suffocating. Every eye fixed on Rasheeda and Jasmine as they exchanged heated glances that could have set the walls on fire. The air was thick with resentment, old wounds reopening in a way that neither could ignore. You could almost hear the unspoken accusations hanging between them like heavy clouds, each one loaded with years of misunderstanding, competition, and personal grievances. Rasheeda's voice trembled with anger and disbelief as she gestured, wildly, pointing at Jasmine in a way that demanded attention. "I've had enough of your disrespect, Jasmine. You think you can walk in here and talk over me like I don't even exist?" she yelled, her words cutting through the tense silence like a knife. Jasmine's response was immediate, sharp, and unapologetic. "Disrespect? Oh please. Don't twist this around, Rasheeda. You've been acting like the queen of this drama for far too long. It's time someone called you out." The room erupted, gasps and murmurs spreading as family members and friends leaned in, unsure whether to intervene or let the storm rage. Karlie Red, standing at a safe distance, raised her hands in a gesture of peace, trying to calm the rapidly escalating situation. Ladies, let's take a breath. We're all friends here, let's not make this ugly in front of everyone," she said, her tone firm but soothing. Her words barely registered as both women were already past the point of rational discussion. Young Joc, sensing the severity of the conflict, stepped forward, his presence commanding and his eyes locked on Rasheeda. "Rasheeda, Jasmine, you gotta chill. This is bigger than either of you. Fans are watching, and the family is counting on you to not turn this into a full-blown disaster," he said, his voice calm but edged with urgency. Despite his efforts, the animosity between the two women was palpable. Every nerve on edge, every muscle tight, every word another potential spark. The confrontation had started innocuously enough, with a casual dinner meant to be a reconciliation, but as the evening progressed, old insecurities, rivalries, and jealousies emerged, bubbling to the surface in ways no one could have anticipated. Jasmine had made a comment about Rasheeda's business decisions, a remark meant to be subtle but landing like a thunderclap. "You really think that's a smart move?" "I'm just saying, people are noticing, Rasheeda," she said, her tone dripping with condescension. Rasheeda's eyes widened in disbelief, her chest heaving as she fought to keep her composure. "People are noticing. Girl, I built this empire from the ground up. Don't you dare belittle what I've worked for," she fired back, her words laced with venom. The friends around them flinched, some covering their mouths in shock, others leaning in, unable to turn away from the spectacle unfolding before them. Emotions ran high as the argument escalated, voices rising, hands gesturing wildly, and faces flushed with frustration and anger. The family was left divided, with some members trying to mediate, others silently judging, and a few secretly enjoying the chaos. The tension had become so unbearable that Karlie Red moved closer, her hands on both women's shoulders, trying to physically create a barrier between them. "Stop it, both of you. This isn't helping anything," she pleaded, but even her touch seemed to only intensify the conflict, as if the proximity reminded them of all the past slights and betrayals they had suffered at each other's hands. Young Joc, seeing that diplomacy alone was not enough, took a different approach. He began recounting memories, moments of laughter, shared experiences that both Rasheeda and Jasmine had once valued. "Remember when we all went on that tour together? You two were unstoppable. We had each other's backs," he said, trying to rekindle a sense of unity. But Rasheeda's pride and Jasmine's stubbornness made it almost impossible for the words to land. "That was years ago, Joc. Things have changed. People have changed. I can't just forget the way she humiliated me in front of everyone," Rasheeda shouted, her voice trembling with both anger and hurt. Jasmine's retort was immediate. "Humiliated you? I didn't humiliate you. You humiliated yourself." The room erupted again, the volume of the argument rising, the intensity magnifying with each passing second. Fans, watching the unfolding drama through leaked live footage and social media updates, were in shock. The comments section exploded, with reactions, some supporting Rasheeda, others backing Jasmine, and countless more just expressing disbelief at the sheer audacity and intensity of the confrontation. Emotions were contagious, spreading from the participants to the audience, creating a digital echo chamber of drama, judgment, and speculation. Everyone seemed to have an opinion, and every opinion fueled the fire, making it nearly impossible to find a moment of calm or reason. Then came a shocking twist. Just when it seemed like Rasheeda and Jasmine might physically clash, a figure appeared at the doorway, a longtime mutual friend who had stayed out of previous conflicts. The sudden arrival caused a momentary pause, as if everyone collectively held their breath. Wait, you're missing something crucial here," the newcomer shouted, pointing at both women. "This isn't just about what happened tonight. It's bigger. It's about respect, boundaries, and the people who truly care about you both." The statement hung in the air, and for a fleeting second, the room was silent. But old grudges die hard, and the silence was broken as Rasheeda muttered under her breath, barely audible, "He doesn't understand." Jasmine, however, caught the words and used them as fuel to escalate further. "Don't you dare bring him into this. You think anyone can save you from the mess you've created?" she hissed, her eyes narrowing. Karlie Red and young Joc exchanged a glance, realizing that the night was far from over. They had managed to prevent a physical altercation, but the emotional battlefield was still very much alive. They knew they had to act fast to prevent irreversible damage. Joc raised his voice, cutting through the tension like a siren. "Enough. This isn't just about you two anymore. Think about the fans. Think about the family. Think about the legacy you're both trying to protect. You're better than this." The words seemed to hang in the air, and for a brief moment, there was a flicker of calm. But beneath the surface, resentment simmered, ready to erupt at any provocation. As the night wore on, revelations came to light that no one anticipated. Hidden messages, secret alliances, and long-buried grudges surfaced, adding layers of complexity to an already combustible situation. Family members whispered among themselves, piecing together fragments of past betrayals and secret interactions that had never been disclosed. Every revelation acted as a spark, igniting further arguments and heightening the drama. "I can't believe you kept this from me all these years," one relative exclaimed, pointing at Rasheeda. Jasmine shook her head, tears streaming, her voice breaking as she added, "And you think you're innocent in all this? Don't act like you've never done anything wrong." Despite the chaos, young Joc and Karlie Red refused to step back. They maneuvered with precision, attempting to channel the emotions in the room toward constructive dialogue. Joc's voice, steady and commanding, cut through multiple layers of accusations. "We're not here to assign blame. We're here to find a solution. But if you keep throwing insults, nothing will change. You have to listen, really listen, to each other," he implored. Karlie, standing beside him, added, "You both mean something to everyone here. Don't let pride and anger ruin what you've built. Their intervention, though met with resistance, began to sow small seeds of potential reconciliation. Suddenly, an unexpected revelation shocked everyone into stunned silence. A message had been leaked to the group, a private recording from months ago, that showed interactions between Rasheeda and a close confidant, revealing motivations that no one had suspected. The video played on a nearby phone, and the room's energy shifted. Rasheeda's face flushed crimson, a mix of embarrassment, anger, and defensiveness flooding her expression. Jasmine's jaw tightened, eyes widening as she watched. Realizing that the narrative she had believed might not be entirely accurate, the tension transformed, becoming layered with confusion, doubt, and raw vulnerability. The room oscillated between heated exchanges and fragile attempts at understanding. Moments of silence were punctuated by bursts of dialogue, each revelation and accusation adding to the complex web of emotions. Friends and family found themselves trapped in the middle, torn between loyalty, shock, and the instinct to mediate. Every attempt at reconciliation seemed to open a new wound, but at the same time, each dialogue revealed deeper truths that had long been ignored. Fans glued to their screens could hardly keep up with the roller coaster of emotions, the twists, the betrayals, and the fleeting moments of tentative peace. As the night continued, young Joc and Karlie Red orchestrated small interventions, separating the women at key moments, steering conversations away from explosive topics, and gently reminding them of their shared history. Remember why you started this journey together, Karlie urged, her voice softer now, almost pleading. You've both grown, you've both struggled, and yet here you are, still standing. Don't throw it all away over a single argument. Joc added, look at the bigger picture. Fans, family, friends, they care about both of you. Don't let anger blind you. Despite their efforts, the room remained charged with tension, every pause pregnant with the possibility of renewed conflict. Then came a twist no one expected. A longtime ally, previously silent, stepped forward with an explosive revelation that reframed the entire argument. You think this is about disrespect? They shouted, eyes blazing. It's about control, jealousy, and the fear of losing relevance. Admit it. Rasheeda and Jasmine froze, shock evident on both faces. The accusation hung in the air like a gauntlet thrown, challenging the very core of their grievances. The room was electric, anticipation and dread mingling as everyone waited to see how each woman would respond. Jasmine's response was a mixture of fury and vulnerability. Maybe I am jealous, maybe I do feel like I'm always competing. But, don't act like you don't feel it too, she spat out, her voice shaking. Rasheeda's counter was equally raw. I've worked harder than anyone here, and you know it. Every time I look around, I see people questioning me, doubting me. So yes, I fight back. The air was thick, charged, and impossible to breathe through without feeling the heat of their emotions. Young Joc and Karlie Red realized that the next steps were critical. They needed to de-escalate without dismissing the intensity of the emotions present. Joc raised his hands again, his voice firm yet calm. This isn't about winning or losing. This is about understanding, about respecting what each of you brings to the table. Stop trying to prove who's stronger, and start listening. Really, listening, Karlie echoed. Tonight is a turning point. It doesn't have to end in chaos. You can choose to walk away differently, to rewrite the narrative. But even as their words hung in the air, the underlying tension refused to dissipate. Every glance, every sigh, every subtle movement was charged with the weight of the past, the pressure of the present, and the uncertainty of the future. The drama was far from over, and as the night stretched on, the question lingered. Could mediation truly hold back the storm, or was this conflict destined to explode in ways no one could contain? The emotional roller coaster continued, leaving everyone, both in the room and watching from afar, on the edge of their seats, heart racing, unable to predict what would happen next. The tension carried over seamlessly from the previous confrontation, as if the night itself refused to allow a moment of peace. Rasheeda's face was still flushed with indignation, and Jasmine's eyes burned with lingering resentment. Yet there was now an undercurrent of exhaustion mingled with uneasy acknowledgement that neither could walk away from the unresolved emotions that had been thrust into the open. Karlie Red, sensing an opportunity, stepped closer once again, her voice calm but firm. Look, I know it's been rough, but you two are bigger than this fight. Bigger than the insults, the jealousy, the misunderstandings. Let's focus on what really matters here: respect, communication, and the people who care about you both. Joc nodded beside her, adding, We've been through a lot together. Fans have watched every step of your journey, and they believe in you. Don't give them a fight that'll be remembered for all the wrong reasons." Despite the attempt at mediation, the simmering tension refused to subside. Rasheeda, her pride still bristling, leaned forward, her voice a mixture of frustration and incredulity. "Respect. You want respect? Jasmine, you've been undermining me for years. Every interview, every social media posts, it's always a dig at me, a jab at my accomplishments. I've held my tongue. But tonight I won't." Jasmine's lips curled in a defiant smirk, her voice dripping with a mixture of sarcasm and raw honesty. "Undermining you? Girl, don't act like I invented conflict. I've always been honest. Maybe honesty hurts sometimes, but it's the truth that scares you." The family watched in a mixture of horror and fascination as the verbal volley continued. Every accusation felt like a dagger, every retort a shield. Emotions ran high, voices crescendoing with every exchange. Friends who had initially been spectators now found themselves in the impossible position of mediators, carefully choosing when to speak and when to step back. Social media erupted in real time as leaked clips of the confrontation went viral. Fans commenting furiously, "I can't believe this is happening. Rasheeda is losing it. Jasmine is savage, she always does this." The online frenzy only amplified the pressure in the room, feeding the intensity of the moment and ensuring that no one could afford to step away quietly. Amid the chaos, a surprising intervention came from an unexpected source. A mutual friend who had maintained silence throughout past conflicts suddenly stepped forward, voice firm, eyes locked on both women. "Stop. This isn't just about you two anymore. It's about legacy, family, and what you stand for. All the gossip, all the backstabbing, it stops here. You're stronger than this mess, you need to see it." The statement hung in the air, creating a brief but necessary pause. Rasheeda's jaw tightened, and Jasmine's eyes darted toward Joc and Karlie, as if seeking validation. The mediation wasn't perfect, but for a fleeting moment, the storm seemed to hesitate at the edge of eruption. Then came a revelation that threw everything into chaos again. Karlie read, flipping through messages on her phone, found evidence of a secret conversation that neither Rasheeda nor Jasmine had disclosed. The room went silent as she read aloud, voice trembling with urgency. "These texts suggest there's been plotting behind-the-scenes plans that neither of you shared, involving people close to both of you." Rasheeda's hands flew to her face in shock. "What? Who would do this?" Jasmine, equally stunned, whispered, "This changes everything." The revelation shifted the dynamics instantly, creating a mix of paranoia, distrust, and disbelief. Every alliance and every past grievance suddenly seemed more complicated, more charged, and more combustible. As the evening progressed, the drama deepened further. Long-standing issues came to light, old arguments resurfaced, and accusations piled on each other like dominoes teetering on the edge of collapse. Rasheeda's frustration morphed into a bitter self-defense. "I've carried so much, and for what? For people to question my loyalty, my integrity, my dedication." Her voice cracked, raw with emotion, exposing a vulnerability rarely seen. Jasmine's counter was equally personal, "And I've been painted as the villain this whole time. I've fought my own battles, kept my own secrets, and still I'm made out to be the problem." The emotional intensity was palpable, a combustible mixture of rage, hurt, and defiance that made even seasoned onlookers hold their breath. Karlie and Joc stepped in repeatedly, using every ounce of their experience to de-escalate the situation. Joc's voice rose above the chaos, steady and authoritative. "Listen, you're both being dragged by emotions that have nothing to do with the present. Focus on the here and now. Hear each other. Understand each other." Karlie followed, gently placing a hand on each woman's shoulder. "This isn't just about tonight, it's about everything you've built together, the fans who love you, the family that depends on you. Don't let anger ruin it." Their words created moments of clarity amid the storm, brief pauses where reality intruded on the emotional turmoil. But just when it seemed like progress might be possible, another twist struck. A family member, previously silent, revealed a secret that added layers of betrayal and resentment. "You think this is personal. It's bigger than both of you. Decisions have been made without your knowledge, loyalties tested, alliances shifted, and you're both blind to it." The revelation reignited the room, causing both Rasheeda and Jasmine to redirect their anger outward, pointing fingers at the unseen manipulators and demanding explanations. "Who would do this to us? Who's trying to tear this apart?" "Rasheeda, demanded. Jasmine's eyes blazed with suspicion. And why would anyone pick me as the target? What are they afraid of? Social media was ablaze as clips of the new revelations spread like wildfire. Fans speculated endlessly. Who leaked the texts? Is this a setup? Rasheeda versus Jasmine is next-level drama. The online audience became an invisible force in the room, their reactions amplifying every emotion, every accusation, every outburst. The pressure was relentless, creating a feedback loop where the tension only intensified, each second escalating. The stakes. Amid the emotional whirlwind, unexpected moments of vulnerability began to appear. Rasheeda, voice quieter but still firm, admitted, "Maybe I've been too defensive. Maybe I haven't always seen your perspective." Jasmine, eyes glistening, responded, "And maybe I've been too harsh. Maybe I've said things I shouldn't have. But it's hard to hold back when I feel like I'm always on the outside looking in." The admission was raw, unfiltered, and while it did not dissolve the tension, it added complexity and a glimmer of hope. Yet, as the night wore on, new arguments emerged, each tied to past betrayals and unresolved conflicts. Young Joc and Karlie, Red worked tirelessly to manage the ebb and flow, navigating through the storm with a mix of diplomacy, persuasion, and emotional intelligence. Joc emphasized unity, reminding everyone of the shared history, the mutual respect, and the goals beyond the personal grievances. Karlie focused on empathy, urging Rasheeda and Jasmine to acknowledge the pain on both sides, to see the human behind the anger, and to recognize the damage that unchecked conflict could inflict on everyone involved. Suddenly, a shocking twist escalated the drama to unprecedented levels. An old friend of the family, who had remained hidden from the feud, emerged with a bombshell revelation, one that implicated several key figures in manipulating events to provoke this very conflict. The room froze, disbelief mixing with outrage. "You've been played," the friend said, eyes darting between Rasheeda and Jasmine. "Every slight, every miscommunication, it was orchestrated. And now, you're falling right into their trap." The words reverberated, transforming confusion into fury, suspicion into paranoia, and arguments into explosive confrontations that threatened to spiral entirely out of control. Jasmine, her voice trembling, shouted, "So all this time, I've been fighting battles I didn't even know existed." Rasheeda, equally shocked, snapped, "And I've been defending myself against ghosts, against lies." The tension escalated further as the weight of manipulation and deception hit them both, mixing with the raw emotions already present in the room. The night had become a labyrinth of feelings: anger, betrayal, disbelief, sorrow, and the faintest glimmer of possible reconciliation. Karlie and Joc, sensing the precarious balance, continued their interventions with increased urgency. Joc addressed the entire room, voice rising above the chaos. "You've been set up, played against each other. But tonight, you have a choice. Continue the cycle, or break it. Own your power, your influence, your voice. Decide what kind of story you want to tell." Karlie, standing beside him, added, "We're here to help you navigate it. But the real work, that's on you. This is your moment to choose unity over destruction, understanding over anger." The room remained tense, every glance and gesture loaded with history and emotion. Yet, amid the turbulence, small breakthroughs began to emerge, moments where Rasheeda and Jasmine listened, truly listened, to each other, hearing not just the words but the pain, frustration, and vulnerability behind them. The process was messy, raw, and far from complete, but it marked a subtle shift in the trajectory of the night's drama. Fans, glued to social media, continued to react with shock, awe, and speculation. Comments poured in at a relentless pace. "This is insane. I can't believe what's happening. Rasheeda and Jasmine might actually reconcile. Karlie and Joc are true heroes tonight." The public's gaze intensified the stakes, making every word, every gesture, every expression a spectacle of unprecedented intensity. As the hours stretched on, the confrontation evolved into a complex tapestry of dialogue, revelation, and emotion. Every accusation unearthed new layers of context. Every admission of vulnerability opened doors to understanding. Every intervention by Joc and Karlie provided moments of clarity amid chaos. Yet the storm was far from over. The night had laid bare wounds that had festered for years, exposing cracks in relationships, trust, and loyalty that would take more than a few hours to repair. The atmosphere, thick with anticipation, held its breath as Rasheeda and Jasmine moved from raw confrontation to tentative reflection. each aware that the night could end in either devastation or transformation. Karlie read, sensing a critical juncture, spoke once more, softer now, yet imbued with authority. This is your choice. Tonight, you can let the past dictate your future, or you can write a new chapter together. Joc's nod was subtle but firm, reinforcing the gravity of the moment. Every eye in the room was fixed on the two women, waiting to see which path they would take. Every heartbeat synchronized with the fragile tension in the air. The night teetered on the edge of resolution and chaos, a delicate balance held by words, gestures, and the thin thread of hope that Joc and Karlie nurtured. What had begun as a routine confrontation had transformed into an emotional odyssey, a labyrinth of truth, deception, pride, and vulnerability. And as the night deepened, the question lingered: could reconciliation survive in the midst of such intense emotion? Or was this the beginning of an irrevocable fracture? The drama, shocking in its intensity, had only just begun to unfold, leaving everyone, participants, family, friends, and fans, captivated, uncertain, and utterly spellbound. The room remained electric, the tension crackling like static in the air. Yet something had subtly shifted. Rasheeda and Jasmine, though still glaring at each other, were no longer speaking in pure venom. Instead, their words had begun to carry a tentative layer of introspection, a cautious acknowledgement of the emotions that had driven them to this combustible point. Joc noticed the small change, his eyes scanning the room, noting the faint easing of posture, the brief moments where neither woman's voice rose above a murmur. "See, this is progress," he murmured to Karlie, who nodded but remained vigilant, sensing that one misstep could reignite the storm. Jasmine, her voice, quieter but firm, broke the fragile silence. "I never realized how much I've held onto. Grudges, anger, assumptions, and seeing all of this laid out, it's like a mirror I didn't want to look into." Rasheeda, still tense, let out a shaky breath. "I've been carrying so much too. The need to prove myself, the fear of being undermined. Maybe I haven't always been fair." Their eyes met, a flicker of understanding passing between them, a spark, fragile but real, that suggested the possibility of reconciliation. The room exhaled collectively, but Karlie and Joc knew better than to relax too soon. Then, unexpectedly, the drama took another turn. A member of the extended circle, previously unnoticed in the shadows, stepped forward with a revelation that reignited the intensity. "You think this is about just your rivalry? There's more at play. Financial stakes, alliances, even public perception. People have been maneuvering behind the scenes to stir this exact conflict." Rasheeda's eyes widened, a mix of disbelief and fury, while Jasmine's hands trembled as she struggled to process the implications. "So, we've been pawns," Rasheeda whispered, disbelief evident in her tone. Jasmine's response was immediate and sharp. "All this time, fighting, yelling, second-guessing, for them to manipulate us." The accusation hung in the air, adding a new layer of betrayal and complexity to an already intricate web of emotions. Joc and Karlie, recognizing the delicacy of the moment, intervened once more, carefully guiding the conversation back to the present. Joc's voice, steady yet commanding, reminded them, "It doesn't matter who tried to manipulate you. What matters is what you do now. You can keep reacting, letting them control the narrative, or you can reclaim your power by addressing each other honestly and openly." Karlie added, softer now, "This is your chance to set boundaries, to speak truths that matter, and to stop the cycle before it consumes everything." Their words, though well-intentioned, were a tightrope act. They had to balance the rising emotions with the necessity for calm, for reflection, and for communication that could lead to any kind of resolution. The conversation veered into deep territory, surfacing years of unresolved grievances, personal insecurities, and moments of perceived betrayal. Rasheeda spoke of the nights she had cried in private, feeling isolated and misjudged, while Jasmine recounted the times she had felt silenced, undervalued, and pushed aside. Their words, raw and unfiltered, painted a vivid portrait of two women locked in a cycle of hurt that had been decades in the making. Every listener in the room felt the weight of their honesty, the vulnerability, and the sheer emotional intensity. The family, watching with bated breath, seemed caught between relief and fear, unsure whether this openness would finally bridge the gap or shatter the fragile truce completely. Social media continued to play its role as an unrelenting observer. Fans glued to their screens commented in real time, dissecting every nuance, every expression, every exchange. "This is insane, they're actually talking like adults." One comment read. Another posted, I can't believe Rasheeda is admitting this. Jasmine's tears are real too. The live reaction created an amplified feedback loop, making every moment more intense, more scrutinized, and more dramatic. Every gesture was analyzed, every pause interpreted, every shift in tone a potential headline in the making. Amid the charged atmosphere, unexpected humor briefly surfaced, offering a small reprieve from the emotional intensity. A cousin, trying to lighten the mood, muttered under his breath, "We need popcorn for this. It's better than reality TV." The remark elicited a nervous laugh from a few corners of the room, including Joc, whose lips twitched into a small smile. Karlie gave a subtle nod, recognizing the value of humor in diffusing tension, even if only momentarily. For a few precious minutes, the air felt slightly less suffocating, and the walls seemed to breathe alongside the participants. But the calm was fleeting. Another bombshell dropped, this time in the form of a private conversation revealed by an unexpected source, a loyal friend who had preserved messages from months prior. The content exposed hidden doubts, secret alliances, and private criticisms that neither Rasheeda nor Jasmine had anticipated. The revelation ignited fresh outrage. "They've been talking about me behind my back," Rasheeda shouted, her hands flying in exasperation. Jasmine's voice, laced with both anger and disbelief, followed immediately. "And you think I didn't? I've been defending myself in silence while they plotted this entire thing." The room trembled with the intensity of the confrontation, each accusation throwing the previous moments into sharper relief. Karlie and Joc again attempted to restore order. Karlie, her tone firm yet empathetic, reminded them, "These messages are pieces of a puzzle, not the whole picture. Look at them for clarity, not for ammunition. You both have a chance to respond in a way that defines you, not what others want you to be." Joc added, "You've been given an opportunity here to rise above the manipulation, to reclaim your narrative, and to assert control over your story. Don't waste it on further conflict." The guidance, though strategic, required patience from all parties. As emotions continued to ebb and flow, unpredictably, threatening to undo the fragile progress that had been made. Then came the most explosive revelation yet. An unexpected confession from a previously silent family member completely reframed the conflict, revealing motives, misunderstandings, and hidden truths that neither woman had considered. The room went silent as the implications sank in, tension mounting to an almost unbearable level. Rasheeda's voice broke as she spoke. I never imagined it was like this." Jasmine's lips trembled, tears welling in her eyes. I feel betrayed. But maybe I misunderstood everything too." The admission marked a pivotal shift, a moment where anger began to give way to reflection. And reflection hinted at the possibility of reconciliation. Fans online were in a frenzy, reacting to the latest twist. Comments ranged from disbelief to hope. This just got 10 times crazier. Rasheeda and Jasmine might actually make peace. Karlie and Joc are doing the impossible here. The digital audience, though physically distant, had become a silent participant in the unfolding drama. Their reactions magnifying the stakes and intensifying every emotional beat in the room. Joc and Karlie seized the momentum, encouraging both women to engage in a guided conversation, emphasizing listening over reacting, understanding over accusation. Joc's voice was firm but gentle. "Take a moment. Speak, but also hear. Let each other's words sink in without interruption. This is your chance to reset, to rebuild trust, even in small ways." Karlie mirrored the sentiment, adding, "It's not about forgetting the past, it's about acknowledging it, learning from it, and deciding how to move forward without letting it destroy everything." The dialogue that followed was raw, unfiltered, and deeply revealing. Rasheeda and Jasmine spoke of fears, insecurities, regrets, and hopes for the future, alternating between moments of tearful honesty and flashes of anger as old habits surfaced. Family members and friends, caught between supporting and mediating, watched in awe, witnessing the complex interplay of pride, pain, and vulnerability that had defined the night. Each revelation peeled back layers of misunderstanding, each confession built a tenuous bridge of empathy, and each attempt at reconciliation edged them closer to a fragile, yet real, possibility of peace. Yet, the night was far from over. Even as they spoke openly, new tensions emerged in the form of public scrutiny, social media commentary, and the lingering presence of past grievances. Every interaction was magnified, every emotional reaction scrutinized, creating a pressure cooker environment where the potential for explosion remained high. Joc and Karlie, aware of the delicate balance, continued to guide the conversation with precision, reinforcing the importance of intentional communication, mutual respect, and measured responses. By the early hours, a subtle transformation was noticeable. The volume had decreased, the flaring tempers had softened, and the atmosphere, while still charged, carried an undercurrent of tentative understanding. Rasheeda and Jasmine, still emotionally raw, seemed to recognize that the confrontation had brought buried issues to light, issues that could no longer be ignored. The room, once a battlefield of anger and accusation, had shifted into a space of reflection, revelation, and the possibility of reconciliation. Yet even as the tension eased slightly, the night remained unpredictable. Every pause was a potential spark, every glance a challenge, every word a test. Karlie and Joc remained vigilant, mediating, guiding, and subtly controlling the flow of conversation to ensure that the emotional currents did not spiral into chaos again. The family and friends, still observing with bated breath, were caught between hope and apprehension, witnessing a drama that had grown far beyond a simple feud. And as the dawn approached, Rasheeda and Jasmine, exhausted yet reflective, began to acknowledge the depth of their shared history, the complexity of their emotions, and the possibility that this confrontation could mark the beginning of something different. Whether that difference would be lasting peace or a temporary truce remained uncertain. But the night had undeniably shifted the dynamics in ways that no one could have anticipated. Fans, friends, and family alike remained captivated, waiting for the next development, aware that even in moments of tentative calm, the storm of emotion still loomed large. The fragile calm that had settled over the room was deceptive, almost as if the night itself were holding its breath, waiting for the next explosion. Rasheeda and Jasmine sat facing each other, still tense, still raw, but with an emerging undercurrent of cautious curiosity. Karlie, Red, and young Joc hovered nearby, alert and ready to intervene at the slightest hint of escalation. "You're both human," Joc said, voice steady yet firm, cutting through the quiet. "You're going to clash, but what matters is how you deal with it. You can let anger dictate the night, or you can choose understanding." Karlie nodded, adding, "It won't be easy. You've carried grudges and misunderstandings for years, but tonight, you have a chance to confront them, not just with words, but with real listening." The conversation began to deepen, moving beyond surface-level accusations into the heart of old wounds. Rasheeda's voice trembled as she spoke of the loneliness she had felt, of the times she had needed support and felt abandoned, not just by Jasmine but by others who should have had her back. "I've been so strong for so long," she admitted. "And sometimes I just wanted someone to see me, to acknowledge what I've carried." Jasmine's eyes softened, but only slightly, her own pain pressing to the surface. "I get that," she whispered, almost to herself. "I've felt the same way, invisible, unheard. And yet we've spent so much time tearing each other down instead of lifting each other up." The room felt suspended in that moment, the raw honesty creating a fragile bridge between them. Yet, the past was a stubborn shadow, refusing to be ignored. Another revelation emerged, this one from a source that had stayed quiet until now, close friend who revealed an old incident that had long been misinterpreted, sparking years of resentment. "You think she betrayed you that day?" the friend asked, voice tense. "No, it was a misunderstanding, blown out of proportion. And it's fueled every argument since." Rasheeda's face twisted in disbelief. "All this time, I misjudged her." Jasmine's voice cracked as she added, "And I misjudged her too. And myself." The layers of betrayal, misunderstanding, and hurt that had dominated the evening were slowly being peeled back, revealing the complexity of their relationship. Every confession, every revelation, every apology even tentative was like a thread weaving together, a tapestry of reconciliation that had been impossible to see in the heat of past conflicts. Joc and Karlie seized these moments, guiding the women through the emotional minefield with steady hands. Joc reminded them, "It's not about who's right or wrong. It's about recognizing the human behind the anger, the pride, the fear." Karlie added, "This is your chance to reset the story, to take control of the narrative instead of letting it control you." But just when it seemed that progress was being made, a new twist surged through the room like a storm. An old adversary, previously thought to be neutral, revealed that they had been spreading rumors and manipulating social media narratives to pit Rasheeda and Jasmine against each other. The revelation landed like a bomb, reigniting anger and disbelief. "So all Of this, Rasheeda said, voice shaking, was orchestrated. We've been fighting battles that weren't even ours. Jasmine's hands trembled as she responded, and people made us look like the villains while they watched it all unfold. The weight of manipulation added a fresh layer of complexity, reigniting the drama with renewed intensity. Fans watching, the live clips and leaked footage exploded online. Comments surged. Wait, are you telling me they've been played this whole time? I can't believe someone was behind all this. Rasheeda versus Jasmine is even crazier than I thought. The public's fascination only amplified the stakes, turning personal grievances into a spectacle that felt both intimate and far-reaching. Every word, every gesture, every pause was analyzed and dissected, feeding back into the tension that still simmered in the room. Despite the chaos, moments of unexpected levity emerged. A younger cousin, nervously attempting humor, muttered, "I feel like I should be taking notes for a reality show script." A few nervous laughs escaped, including from Joc, who allowed himself a brief smile. Karlie gave a subtle nod, understanding the delicate balance between tension and humor, recognizing that these small moments of relief could prevent the storm from fully erupting. Yet even humor could not completely dissipate the undercurrent of tension. New accusations arose, each tied 2 years of grievances, misunderstandings, and jealousy. Rasheeda's voice rose, sharp and fiery. "I've been fighting to protect my name, my reputation, and my family, and all this time I've been attacked for it." Jasmine's response was immediate and emotional. "And I've been trying to survive in the shadow of expectations, defending myself while being painted as the problem." The intensity surged once more, echoing off the walls, the room a cauldron of emotion, raw and unfiltered. Karlie and Joc intensified their interventions, now balancing empathy with firm guidance. Joc's voice cut through the escalating storm. "You both know each other better than anyone else. Use that knowledge, not as ammunition, but as a tool to understand each other." Karlie added, "This is your chance to speak truth without destroying what you've built together. You're in control of your story." The guidance was critical, providing a framework for dialogue in a room otherwise dominated by emotion and reaction. Then another twist struck. A private revelation from a trusted family member brought forward secrets of past conversations and actions that had been misinterpreted, reshaping the narrative entirely. Rasheeda gasped, "I can't believe. I never knew this." Jasmine's voice was shaky, "So the blame I've been carrying isn't just mine." The weight of this revelation added layers of vulnerability, empathy, and confusion, creating an emotional complexity that both women had to navigate carefully. Fans on social media reacted instantly, creating a storm of speculation and debate. Comments poured in by the thousands. "This is insane. Rasheeda and Jasmine might actually reconcile. The drama is real, but so are the emotions. Karlie and Joc are literally saving the night." The audience, though removed physically, was an invisible participant, their reactions feeding into the intensity, making every interaction in the room a high-stakes performance. The conversation moved toward reconciliation, but the process was messy, fraught with back-and-forth admissions of hurt and cautious apologies. Rasheeda spoke of moments she regretted, times she had lashed out or misjudged, while Jasmine expressed sorrow for the ways she had contributed to misunderstanding and conflict. Every acknowledgement chipped away at the wall of resentment, even as the echoes of past betrayal remained present. The room shifted gradually from confrontation to reflection, a delicate balance of emotion, understanding, and cautious hope. Yet just as hope flickered, a final revelation brought the intensity to a peak. A previously quiet ally disclosed that there were still ongoing manipulations in play, forces outside the room attempting to maintain the drama. The disclosure acted as a catalyst, reigniting old fears and anger. Rasheeda's voice trembled, "So this isn't over." Jasmine's eyes widened. "We're still being watched, controlled, manipulated." The room seemed to hold its breath, the emotional stakes higher than ever, every participant acutely aware that the night was far from resolution. Karlie and Joc moved decisively, now acting as both mediators and strategists. Joc addressed the room, voice calm but insistent. "Focus on what you can control. This is your story. You decide how it ends. Don't let external forces dictate your emotions or actions." Karlie added, "Right now, the only thing that matters is your communication with each other. All else is distraction." The guidance anchored the conversation, providing a lifeline amid a torrent of emotion, manipulation, and unresolved conflict. By the early hours, Rasheeda and Jasmine had begun to engage in more reflective dialogue, interspersed with tears, laughter, and moments of raw honesty. They spoke of shared history, of loyalty, of misunderstandings that had taken root over time. Every revelation, every apology, every moment of vulnerability brought them closer to a fragile truce, a tentative understanding that the path forward would require patience, effort, and mutual respect. The room, once a battleground, had shifted into a space of contemplation, reflection, and cautious hope. Karlie and Joc remained vigilant, guiding, supporting, and preventing backsliding into conflict. The family, friends, and even fans online watched, captivated, as the night's emotional odyssey unfolded, each moment a delicate balance of emotion, drama, and potential reconciliation. And even as the first light of dawn crept through the windows, the questions remained. Could Rasheeda and Jasmine truly rebuild trust? Would the revelations and interventions of the night lead to lasting peace or temporary calm? The drama, intense, multifaceted, and deeply human, continued to hang in the air, unresolved yet charged with possibility, leaving everyone participants, an audience on the edge of anticipation, wondering what the next chapter would bring. The fragile truce that had begun to take shape was immediately tested as the morning light revealed the lingering shadows of unresolved tension. Rasheeda and Jasmine, physically exhausted but emotionally alert, continued to grapple with the night's revelations. The room, though quieter, was still thick with unspoken words, lingering resentment, and a cautious hope that something positive might emerge from the chaos. Joc, sensing the delicate balance, took a measured step forward. "You've both expressed your feelings, your frustrations, your fears," he said, voice steady. "Now it's time to decide what to do with them. You can either let them fester, or turn them into something constructive." Karlie nodded, eyes scanning both women. "This isn't about forgetting or pretending none of it happened. It's about understanding, responding, and taking control of your narrative." The conversation shifted toward accountability, a theme neither woman had fully embraced in the heat of previous confrontations. Rasheeda, voice low but determined, admitted, "I've let my pride get the best of me. I've said things in anger, made assumptions, and carried grudges that I shouldn't have." Jasmine, equally vulnerable, responded, "And I've done the same. I've held back, I've judged, I've responded with defensiveness instead of openness." The acknowledgement of mutual responsibility created a subtle shift in the energy of the room, the tension easing slightly as each woman began to see the human imperfections in the other. Yet, just as a sense of progress emerged, another dramatic twist threatened to unravel it. A distant relative, previously silent, revealed a past incident that neither Rasheeda nor Jasmine had fully understood, a conversation misheard, a misinterpreted action that had fueled years of silent resentment. The room froze as the implications hit both women. Rasheeda's eyes widened, disbelief mixing with anger. "All this time, I blamed you for something that wasn't even true." Jasmine's hands clenched, trembling. "And I blamed you too, for something that didn't happen." The emotional impact was immediate, reigniting feelings of betrayal and shock even as it offered a new layer of clarity. Joc and Karlie stepped in decisively, guiding the discussion with precision. Joc's voice rose above the tension. "This is why communication is critical. Misunderstandings, assumptions, they've fueled this for years. Now you have the opportunity to address them, to clarify, and to start anew." Karlie's tone was gentle but firm. "It's not about winning or losing. It's about truth, understanding, and setting the record straight for yourselves and the people who care about you." Their intervention provided the structure necessary to navigate the swirling emotions, offering a pathway toward potential reconciliation. As the dialogue deepened, emotions oscillated between vulnerability and defensiveness. Rasheeda recounted moments of feeling unsupported, invisible, and attacked, while Jasmine shared experiences of isolation, judgment, and frustration. Each story, raw and unfiltered, highlighted the layers of complexity in their relationship, revealing patterns of miscommunication and mutual hurt that had long been ignored. The room, filled with family and friends, absorbed every word, every pause, every tear. As the participants wrestled with the weight of years of conflict, fans online continued to react with fervor, the live reactions creating an amplified echo chamber that added intensity to the unfolding drama. Comments ranged from disbelief to hope. "This is wild. They're actually being honest." Rasheeda admitting fault is huge. "Jasmine's tears are real." This might actually lead to reconciliation. The virtual audience, though distant, had become a crucial component in the narrative. Their reactions influencing perceptions and adding a performative layer to the real-time emotional exchange. Amid the tension, fleeting moments of humor and levity offered brief reprieves. A younger cousin muttered under his breath, "This should be a Netflix special." A few nervous laughs punctuated the room, including a subtle smile from Joc, who recognized the therapeutic potential of small, shared moments of lightness. Karlie acknowledged the humor with a nod, understanding that these moments, though brief, helped stabilize the emotional environment. The conversation soon pivoted to future intentions, a delicate topic given the raw emotions at play. Rasheeda, cautiously, voiced a desire to rebuild trust. "I want to move forward, but I need to know that we're both committed to honesty, to respect, to not letting the past poison the future." Jasmine, equally careful, responded, "I feel the same. I want peace, but it has to be genuine. Not just words said to end the conflict." Joc emphasized the importance of actionable steps, not just dialogue. "It's about what you do next, not just what you say tonight. Actions will define the sincerity of this truce." Karlie added, "Set boundaries, communicate openly, and hold each other accountable. That's how you transform conflict into growth." Just as a tentative plan for resolution began to take shape, another dramatic development occurred. A trusted insider disclosed new information about external influences, people who had previously fueled the conflict for their own gain. The revelation sparked immediate concern and renewed anger. Rasheeda's voice shook with intensity. "So, even now, we're being manipulated." Jasmine's response was sharp, "And we're supposed to just ignore it." The implications added layers of complexity, reminding everyone that the path to reconciliation was not linear and that vigilance would be required to maintain progress. The combination of self-reflection, mediation, and revelation created a tense yet hopeful atmosphere. Rasheeda and Jasmine, while still emotionally raw, began engaging in deeper, more constructive dialogue. Joc and Karlie guided them through active listening exercises, encouraging them to acknowledge each other's experiences without immediate judgment. "It's about hearing, not just responding," Karlie explained. "Understanding doesn't mean agreeing, it means validating each other's perspective." Joc reinforced the principle. "This is your opportunity to reclaim control over your story, to choose connection over conflict." Fans online watched in real time, captivated by the emotional evolution. Comments highlighted the gravity of the moment. "This is intense, but I think they're actually listening to each other. Karlie and Joc are literally saving this relationship. I never thought Rasheeda would admit this. Wow." The public scrutiny added both pressure and urgency, underscoring the stakes of the conversation and making every word and gesture a potential headline. As the hours stretched, Rasheeda and Jasmine began to share personal reflections that went beyond surface grievances. They spoke of missed opportunities for support, moments when each had felt isolated, and times when pride or fear had prevented genuine connection. Each admission chipped away at the barriers of resentment, slowly replacing anger with empathy, frustration with understanding. The atmosphere, though still charged, carried the first real sense of potential healing. Yet the night was far from resolved. New layers of misunderstanding, fueled by past experiences and lingering external pressures, continued to surface. Every interaction carried the weight of history, every pause a possible flashpoint. Joc and Karlie remained vigilant, mediating, guiding, and reinforcing the principles of active listening, accountability, and mutual respect. Family members and friends, witnessing the emotional intensity firsthand, oscillated between hope and apprehension, aware that the drama could pivot in an instant. The dialogue shifted toward concrete steps for reconciliation. Rasheeda and Jasmine discussed boundaries, transparency, and strategies for communication moving forward. Joc emphasized consistency in actions, not just words, while Karlie highlighted the importance of mutual support and trust building. The conversation, while tentative, represented a significant evolution from the initial confrontation, signaling a potential path forward. Despite the volatility of emotions and the lingering presence of external manipulation, social media buzzed with speculation, fans dissecting every development, every emotional beat, every subtle gesture. Comments ranged from shock to encouragement. "This is real, raw, and intense. They're finally hearing each other." Karlie and Joc are true mediators, the unsung heroes. The audience, both captivated and critical, remained an integral part of the unfolding drama. their reactions amplifying the stakes and ensuring that every moment carried weight. Beyond the immediate room, by the early morning, a sense of cautious optimism began to emerge. Rasheeda and Jasmine, exhausted but reflective, engaged in moments of shared understanding, acknowledging both the pain and the growth that the night had elicited. The room, while still tense, had shifted from battlefield to reflective space, a testament to the potential for dialogue, intervention, and mediation to transform conflict. Yet even in this tentative calm, the questions lingered. Could this fragile truce survive the scrutiny of the public eye? Would the revelations of manipulation, betrayal, and misunderstanding be fully processed, or would they resurface in future confrontations? The night had demonstrated the complexity of human relationships, the volatility of emotion, and the delicate balance required to navigate long-standing conflict. Fans, family, and friends alike remained captivated, aware that the story was far from over, but hopeful that the night's intense emotional journey had planted the seeds for a new chapter of understanding, respect, and perhaps reconciliation. The fragile truce, which had wavered so many times over the course of the previous night, now faced its most challenging test yet as the afternoon sun cast long, tense shadows across the room. Rasheeda and Jasmine, still emotionally raw from hours of confrontation, confession, and reluctant empathy, had moved into a quieter corner to speak privately, leaving Joc and Karlie momentarily observing from a distance, ready to intervene at the slightest hint of escalation. The room, once saturated with anger, accusation, and the electric tension of unresolved past grievances, now carried a subtler, almost deceptive stillness, a calm before yet another storm. Rasheeda, voice tight with the effort of self-control, spoke first, her words measured but laden with unspoken history. "I don't know if I can ever fully let go," she admitted, eyes avoiding Jasmine's, "but I have to try. For myself, for my family, for the people who've been hurt by my pride." Jasmine's fingers fidgeted nervously, twisting a strand of her hair as she replied, "I feel the same. I want peace, but I'm terrified of being hurt again. I've spent so long building walls, and I don't know if they can come down without leaving me exposed." The raw vulnerability in their voices, coupled with the lingering mistrust that had taken years to form, made the room feel heavier with every exchanged word, the air almost thick enough to cut through with a knife. As the private conversation deepened, a revelation surfaced that neither woman had anticipated. A mutual acquaintance, one who had remained silent during much of the previous night's revelations, stepped forward hesitantly, revealing details of financial disputes, public appearances, and subtle manipulations that had influenced both Rasheeda's and Jasmine's decisions over the years. "You've both been reacting to shadows," the acquaintance said softly, eyes darting nervously between the two women. "Things that weren't always true but were made to seem that way by others around you. You've been played." The confession landed like a seismic shock, causing both Rasheeda and Jasmine to pause mid-breath, their bodies stiff with disbelief and a mixture of outrage and dawning comprehension. Rasheeda's hand flew to her forehead, disbelief etched across her face. "All this time, we've been fighting battles that weren't even ours," she whispered, voice trembling with the magnitude of the revelation. Jasmine's response was equally raw, a mix of hurt and fury. "And all this, all the tears, the accusations, the anger. For what? For someone else's games." The weight of manipulation, now fully visible, acted both as a fresh source of anger and a catalyst for understanding, a paradox that left the emotional atmosphere taut and unpredictable. The room, overhearing the private conversation, shifted subtly as friends and family began to process the new information. Karlie and Joc exchanged glances, recognizing the critical juncture they had reached. Joc stepped forward, clearing his throat to break the tension. "This is exactly why you need to control the narrative from now on," he said, voice both firm and compassionate. "You've been reacting, letting others dictate your emotions and decisions for years. Now, you have the chance to reclaim your story, to define it on your terms, and to decide how this relationship moves forward." Karlie nodded, adding, "It won't be simple, it won't be fast, but this is your chance to build trust, to rebuild understanding, and to create a new dynamic that isn't governed by the past or by manipulation." Their guidance, though calm and deliberate, was heavy with urgency. Every word carried the weight of the stakes, and both women recognized the necessity of listening, absorbing, and responding with intention rather than reaction. Despite the guidance, the emotional turbulence refused to fully subside. Rasheeda, her eyes glistening with unspilled tears, spoke with a quiet intensity. I've carried so much anger, so much hurt. And I realize now that a lot of it was misplaced, that some of it should have been directed at myself for letting it fester. Jasmine's breath hitched, tears slipping freely down her cheeks as she responded, and I've carried fear. Fear of confrontation, fear of being judged, fear of opening myself to someone who I thought would betray me. And here we are, realizing that so much of it wasn't real, or at least, not what we thought it was. The dual confessions, raw and unguarded, formed a fragile bridge between them, a tentative pathway through which empathy, understanding, and even forgiveness could begin to flow. The intensity of the moment was interrupted by an unexpected source, a younger family member who had been quietly observing from the periphery. With a nervous laugh, he muttered, I feel like we're witnessing a live episode of reality TV, but this is real life, isn't it? The comment, though humorous, broke the tension momentarily, eliciting small smiles from both women and a chuckle from Joc. Even Karlie allowed a brief subtle nod, recognizing that the infusion of levity, however fleeting, provided a necessary release of pressure, allowing emotions to settle just enough for clarity to begin to emerge. As the conversation resumed, the focus shifted toward actionable resolutions. Rasheeda, speaking slowly and deliberately, laid out her fears and her tentative hopes. I want to establish boundaries, she said, things that protect both of us from falling back into old patterns, from being manipulated, from letting pride or anger undo what we're trying to rebuild. Jasmine, nodding in agreement, responded, and I want honesty, unfiltered communication, and mutual respect. I want to know that if we stumble, it's not because we're hiding or deceiving, but because we're human and learning along the way. Joc interjected, that's the foundation of any meaningful reconciliation, clear boundaries, honesty, and accountability. If you stick to that, nothing external can derail you. Karlie added, and remember, this isn't about perfection. It's about progress. Every step forward counts, and even setbacks are opportunities to strengthen the relationship if handled consciously. Just as hope began to take root, another revelation threatened to destabilize the delicate equilibrium. A trusted ally, previously silent, disclosed a conversation in which a long-standing critic had tried to provoke Rasheeda and Jasmine, feeding into their worst insecurities. The impact was immediate. Rasheeda's voice rose sharply. So even now, we're being targeted. People still want us at each other's throats. Jasmine's response was a mixture of disbelief and frustration, and we've been reacting, emotionally draining ourselves, while they sit back and watch. The revelation, rather than derailing progress, acted as a galvanizing force, pushing both women to recommit to their emerging understanding and to fortify their boundaries against external interference. The dialogue evolved into a strategy session for emotional resilience. Joc, voice calm but authoritative, encouraged them to articulate scenarios where manipulation might arise and to plan conscious responses, ensuring that their actions would be guided by clarity rather than reflexive emotion. Karlie emphasized the importance of mutual accountability, reinforcing the need to support one another while maintaining personal integrity. Rasheeda and Jasmine, while exhausted, engaged with the strategy, their minds now focused not just on past grievances but on future sustainability. Each plan, each agreement, each verbal commitment strengthened the fragile bridge they were constructing. A bridge built from trust, clarity, and shared purpose. As the afternoon wore on, the conversation took on a reflective quality, with both women exploring the personal transformations that had been catalyzed by the night's events. Rasheeda spoke of self-realization, of the importance of owning her emotions and responses, and of the desire to step out of cycles of anger that had dominated much of her adult life. Jasmine shared similar insights, reflecting on her own need for vulnerability, openness, and the courage to confront conflict without defensiveness. The dialogue, dense with introspection, emotional complexity, and mutual recognition, created a profound sense of intimacy, marking a pivotal turning point in their relationship. External observers, friends, family, and even fans following snippets online watched as the drama shifted from spectacle to substance. Comments reflected the evolving narrative. This is unreal. The honesty is next level. Rasheeda and Jasmine are showing real growth. Finally, Karlie and Joc are literally mediating a historic moment here. The audience, once drawn solely by the promise of conflict, was now captivated by the emotional authenticity, the raw vulnerability, and the delicate choreography of reconciliation unfolding in real time. Despite the progress, unresolved questions remained. Could Rasheeda and Jasmine maintain this level of honesty under the scrutiny of their public personas? Would external pressures, lingering doubts, or unspoken resentments threaten the nascent truce? The awareness of potential volatility hung in the air, adding a layer of tension beneath the surface of apparent calm. Joc and Karlie, recognizing the ongoing challenges, provided both guidance and reassurance, reinforcing the principles of reflection, communication, and conscious choice as the foundation for sustained peace. By late afternoon, Rasheeda and Jasmine began to formulate actionable steps for moving forward. They discussed daily check-ins, methods for addressing misunderstandings before escalation, and strategies for mutual support that respected individual boundaries. Each plan was a small but significant step toward not just reconciliation but a transformation of the dynamic that had long defined their interactions. Joc emphasized the importance of consistency and patience, while Karlie reminded them that even setbacks could serve as opportunities for learning, growth, and renewed commitment. The emotional landscape of the room had transformed dramatically. Where once there had been raw anger, accusation, and mistrust, there was now cautious understanding, tentative empathy, and a shared desire to navigate the complex terrain of their relationship with intention and care. The journey had been anything but linear, punctuated by twists, revelations, and emotional turbulence, yet the progress made was undeniable. Each moment of honesty, each shared confession, each acknowledgement of personal responsibility had contributed to a fragile but tangible bridge between two women who had long been defined by conflict rather than connection. Even as they continued to navigate the afternoon, the presence of external observers, family, friends, and an online audience added a complex dimension. The knowledge that every word, gesture, and pause was being watched created both pressure and motivation. Rasheeda and Jasmine, aware of the stakes, approached each interaction with heightened awareness, striving to act with integrity, honesty, and the dynamic, though fraught, was evolving into a demonstration of emotional resilience, strategic communication, and the possibility of transformation even in the most entrenched conflicts. By evening, the conversation had shifted from confrontation to planning, from accusation to reflection, from tension to cautious optimism. Rasheeda and Jasmine, still emotionally fatigued, had begun to recognize the potential for a new chapter, one defined by honesty, accountability, and deliberate action rather than reaction and resentment. Joc and Karlie, having guided the day's intense emotional journey, could finally allow themselves a measure of relief, knowing that the foundations for reconciliation, though still tentative, were firmly in place. Yet the story was far from over. Unseen challenges, lingering doubts, and the inevitable return of external pressures loomed on the horizon. Rasheeda and Jasmine's journey toward sustained peace, trust, and understanding would require continued vigilance, conscious effort, and mutual commitment. Fans, friends, and family, captivated by the emotional intensity and evolving narrative, remained on edge, eager to witness the next chapter of a drama that had begun as conflict but now hinted at transformation, growth, and perhaps, in time, a genuine, lasting reconciliation. And there you have it, the roller coaster of emotions, revelations, and raw confrontations that have left fans on the edge of their seats. Rasheeda and Jasmine have traversed a night filled with accusations, tears, and shocking confessions, guided carefully by the steady presence of Karlie Red and young Joc. We've watched pride collide with vulnerability, long-held grudges meet unexpected truths, and misunderstandings unravel in real time, all under the scrutinizing eyes of family, friends, and an audience that simply cannot look away. But the big question remains, will this fragile truce survive the pressures of reality, public opinion, and the inevitable return of old tensions? Fans are still speculating, commenting, and debating the outcome, because no matter how much progress has been made, the story isn't over. The dynamics between Rasheeda and Jasmine are complex, layered, and deeply human, and the path to genuine reconciliation is rarely simple. As you've seen throughout this journey, the stakes were never just about the immediate drama. They were about trust, accountability, and the courage to confront painful truths. Rasheeda and Jasmine had to dig deep, exposing raw vulnerabilities, admitting mistakes, and facing the manipulations and misunderstandings that had fueled years of conflict. This is the kind of real, unfiltered drama that keeps fans coming back. But it also reminds us all of the human side behind the headlines, emotions, the fears, and the small, meaningful moments of connection that can emerge even in the most heated conflicts. The family was left divided at times, emotions ran high, and yet, amidst all the chaos, there were glimpses of hope, empathy, and the possibility of a new beginning. Now, this is where you come in. What do you think will happen next? Will Rasheeda and Jasmine truly rebuild trust, or will external influences, lingering doubts, and old resentments pull them back into conflict? Fans are already debating fiercely online. Some believe this is the start of a genuine transformation, while others think the truce might be temporary, fragile, and easily broken. Your opinion matters. This story is far from finished, and the next chapters will be shaped not just by the participants themselves but also by the conversations, reactions, and engagement from the fans who watch so closely. If you've been captivated by the twists, the confrontations, and the emotional rollercoaster, make sure you hit that like button to show your support for all the drama, the raw honesty, and the moments of growth. Subscribe so you don't miss any future updates, behind-the-scenes insights, or additional twists that are bound to unfold as Rasheeda and Jasmine navigate their complex relationship. And most importantly, comment below, share your thoughts, predictions, and reactions. Do you think this is a reconciliation that will last, or is there more chaos to come? Your perspective helps shape the conversation, sparks debate, and keeps the story alive in the minds of fans everywhere. This is reality TV drama at its peak, packed with emotion, betrayal, and unexpected revelations. But it's also about human connection, learning, and the messy, beautiful process of facing the past to create a better future. Rasheeda and Jasmine's journey reminds us that even the most intense conflicts can open doors to understanding, if only we have the courage to confront them. So, stay tuned, stay engaged, and don't miss a single moment because the drama isn't over. The story is still unfolding, and your voice is part of it. Click like, subscribe, and comment at let us know how you think this incredible saga will continue. Because the next chapter could be even more shocking than what you've just witnessed.